Today we're going to take the topic that is computer system. So that is the first chapter that we have in class 9 CBSE. So we're going to understand about what exactly a computer is and how it functions. Okay, so let's start it. So the first thing is that comes to the mind that what exactly is a computer. A computer is an electronic device which takes inputs and does the processing and gives the output, right? So that is the basic answer that everybody knows. So we're going to get into details about it, what exactly it means of taking input and doing the processing, who does the processing, who takes the input, and who gives the output. So when we talk about computer, so this is the basic picture that comes to your mind. So this is how a computer looks like, a desktop computer. So if we talk about this parts of the computer, that is the hardware components of a computer. So I guess everybody knows that this is basically a monitor, right? And this is the keyboard, and this we normally call this as a CPU, right? In a layman language we call this as a CPU. Generally with this we call this as a CPU, and this is called as the mouse, right? So everybody knows that these all these parts together actually form a computer. Now for a normal people this is computer, but technically these are just parts of the computers, right? If you talk about the monitor is basically used as an output device. So whatever you do the processing or whatever you do, normally we get the output onto the monitor. We see the output onto the display, right? Other than monitor, we have the output devices like printer, which normally we take the printout from. Then we have the keyboard. Keyboard is basically used to give the input. We give instructions through the keyboard and through the mouse, which is also an input device. So these two devices are called as input because we type with the help of the keyboard. We kind of navigate around the screen. We click on anything that we want with the help of the mouse. So these two particular devices are called as input devices. And then comes that is the CPU, that is the processing. It is used, and we know that okay, CPU is something that is used for processing, right? Now all these things are okay till the time you're in lower classes, but as you move on to the higher classes, that is class 9, 10, so basically your definitions, your technical knowledge should be much better, right? So we're going to work on this. Basically that is what exactly a CPU is. Okay, so let's move forward. So what is a CPU? That's the question. And the basic answer that I always get from the students uh, who have just come from the class 8 or from the lower sections, from the lower classes, I get the basic answer is it is the brain of the computer. Right, exactly, it is the brain of the computer. But this will not work once you are in class 9. In 9 class 9, from class 9 your definition should be more of a technical, more technical, right? So yes, it's the brain of the computer. And normally, as I said, that this is how your CPU looks like, isn't it? And you call this, okay, this is a CPU. The box that you have just placed next to your monitor, or it is just placed below your table, right? And you call that as a CPU. Basically that is not your CPU. It is a CPU cabinet. Understand it, it is just a CPU cabinet that you actually refer that as a CPU, but it is not a CPU, it is a CPU cabinet. Why it is called as CPU cabinet is because we have many things in the CPU cabinet. Inside that we have a RAM, we have a ROM, we have, very important, that is a processor, and we have a hard disk. Okay, so these are the things that we have inside this CPU, and all these parts like the RAM, ROM, processor, hard disk, everything is placed on a motherboard. So it's a kind of a circuit board. Normally if you open the CPU cabinet, you will see a green color board inside, and on that board we have this RAM, ROMs, processor, hard disk, everything is attached onto it. Okay, so motherboard I just missed out, but motherboard is the main circuit board on which all these parts are placed. Understand it. So these are the things that is inside the CPU cabinet. Okay, so what you look at over this picture is a CPU cabinet. Please understand this. What exactly is a CPU? We'll come to that. Okay, and these are the parts, these are the other parts that are there on that uh, motherboard. Okay, in fact there are other things also, but these are the major things that we are going to talk about. Okay, so let's move forward. So yes, CPU is the brain of the computer, and we are going to learn one by one, and we will come to the CPU also. Okay, so one by one we will just understand what is a RAM, ROM, what is a processor, what is a hard disk. Okay, one by one we will understand, and then finally we will come to the word CPU. Okay, so let's move forward. So what is a RAM? I always ask this question to the students, what is a RAM? And everybody says random access memory, right? That's the full form that they know. Yes, it's perfectly right. That's the full form, that is random access memory. But as I said, now you're in class, higher classes, you should have a much better answer. RAM, I never asked you about the full form. I'm asking what exactly is RAM? And the answer to this is RAM is required for program execution. Always keep that thing in your mind. Anybody ask you in an interview a simple question, what is RAM? RAM is random access memory, and it is used for program execution. Understand this word, program execution, which means that every program that you run onto a computer gets executed through RAM. Please understand this. Every program. Now, what do you mean by the word program out here? What do you mean by the word program? Program means over here refers to the software that you're running onto your computer. For example, you're running your video game. You started a video game. So your video game is a program. So to make that program execute, so once you give a double click onto any application, any, for example, a video game, so that video game will start running, right? But how does it run? It is a program which gets loaded onto the RAM. That particular program gets loaded onto the RAM, and through the RAM, okay, the program gets executed. I mean, it gets stored through the RAM, and then through the CPU it gets executed. Understand it. Okay, but for the CPU to execute this program, it is required to load this program onto the RAM. Okay, because RAM is a pretty fast memory. RAM is a memory, but it is a very fast memory. Understand it. Every program that you run onto your computer gets executed through the RAM. It gets loaded onto a RAM. Okay, so for example, there is a program 1, that's a video game. Program 2, that is a music that you're playing at the background. So you're multitasking it, right? You can play music at the same time, you can play video game, you can do some other work. You're working on MS Excel, PowerPoint, and at the background the music is playing. You can do this, right? Because computer does multitasking pretty easily. So these are the around 4 programs that I've shown over here, program 1, program 2. So these are like many programs that are running by the user. And in fact, there are many other programs that are running and it is run by the OS. That we will see it later. So you can do a lot of multitasking. So what happens is your RAM, every program since gets executed or gets loaded onto RAM, it is must that your RAM should be of higher capacity. So normally in market, if you go, we have a 2 GB RAM, we have a 4 GB RAM and a 8 GB RAM. We also have 16 GB RAM, right? So these are the RAMs that you get. So normally if you go to buy a PC into a showroom, and the executive will ask you like what is your configuration that you're looking for. So if you don't answer him back, then he will come up with his own configuration, and he will tell you, okay, you go for Core i processor and a 4 GB RAM or a 8 GB RAM. And he will ask, suppose if you tell him, okay, I want to run Photoshop into it, or I'll be working on Photoshop. Now Photoshop is an application which is a very heavy application. It is a big software. To run, for such a program to run smoothly, you require a higher capacity RAM. So you at least require 8 GB of RAM if you're running on if you're running some heavy applications like Photoshop or some multimedia applications, VFX and all that. If you're working on that, you definitely require a higher capacity RAM. Why? is because if you have a lower capacity RAM, for example, if I have a 2 GB RAM and if I'm trying to run higher applications which are very heavy, which are big softwares, so definitely what happens is, since the RAM is less, and if you try to run that heavy application, so after a point of time your RAM will get full, and once that happens, then your computer starts working pretty slow, and it may happen that your computer can get hanged. Okay, so understand one thing. So that is, always the sales executive always tells to the customers that you should always have a better RAM. If you want that the thing should run smoothly, you go for a better RAM. So if you have if you're doing some basic operations or a bit of one heavy application, so I guess 4 GB RAM can work, but if it's 8 GB, that will be far better. Okay, so better the RAM capacity, the better your system will work along with your processor. Now that word processor, again I'm going to come back to it. Okay, so you require a better RAM for making your computer to work smoothly. And understand one thing, that RAM is a volatile memory. Volatile memory. Now what do you mean by the word volatile? Volatile memory means RAM is a kind of a memory which stores the program, or you can say it stores the program data into it till the time there is a power supply to it. For example, this computer is on, so definitely the data, the RAM will be having a lot of program data onto it. The moment I switch off this computer, the data from the RAM will get erased. It cannot retain its data after your computer is off. So RAM is called as volatile memory. Why it is called as volatile? Because the data will remain into the RAM till the point there is a power supply to it. Once there is no power supply, the data into the RAM will automatically get erased. RAM is not meant to retain the data, understand it. So why do we have RAM? We have RAM only because of one factor, and that is because it is a very fast memory. Okay, it is a very fast memory. So what do you mean by volatile memory, students? Volatile memory means a memory which will retain the data till the point there is a power supply to it. If there is no power supply, the data will get erased automatically. Okay, so that is volatile memory. If you look at this diagram over here, I've said program 1, program 2, 3, 4, and there is something called as OS also over here. Now why we have OS over here? Even that we will come to this, to the next slide. Okay, so this is about the RAM. So now henceforth anybody asks you what is a RAM? RAM is a random access memory, and it is used for program execution. Every program that you run onto a computer, it gets loaded onto a RAM, and from RAM then it gets executed by the CPU. Understand it? Okay, so this is the answer for RAM. Now let us move forward with more interesting, that is called as what is a ROM. And if I ask this question to anybody, they always give the full form, that is read-only memory. Yes, it is read-only memory, and the word read-only memory also has a meaning. Okay, so let us go for the definition for this now. Read-only memory, ROM, is required for booting your computer, which means whenever you start your computer, you boot your computer, then your OS gets loaded, and then if you're using a Windows OS, you will see the Windows logo, and then slowly then your desktop will be in front of you, right? That is what happens. The then your computer starts. So basically that is how a ROM works. ROM is basically used for booting your computer. To start your computer, we require a ROM. But understand one thing, ROM is not something that you upgrade. You don't say that, okay, I require a 4 GB RAM and I require a 2 GB ROM. You don't say that, right? ROM is something that is inbuilt into your motherboard. Okay, it is inbuilt into your motherboard. You don't separately buy it. It always comes inbuilt with the motherboard, and ROM is required for booting the system, which means that there is a program which is called as bootstrap program. a program called as bootstrap program, which is permanently stored onto your ROM. Okay, that program is permanently stored onto your ROM. Okay, which means even if the computer is off, the program is present in that memory. Even if the computer is off, there is no power supply, the program still is present in your ROM memory. So what do you mean by this? ROM is basically a non-volatile memory. ROM is basically a non-volatile. Why non-volatile? Is because even if there is no power supply, it will retain the data. Even if there is no power supply, it will retain the data. Such kind of memory is called as non-volatile memory. Okay, now next, why exactly, what is this bootstrap program? The thing is, children, that when your computer is off, okay, the OS itself is also not present anywhere. It is only present onto the hard disk. A copy of that is present onto the hard disk, understand it. So when you boot your program, the bootstrap program which is present onto the ROM, what it does is it will take a copy of that OS, okay, and it will load that OS onto the RAM. As I said, the same diagram you can see OS over here. You know, every program gets executed through a RAM. For that program to get executed, it is must that it is required in the RAM. So now OS itself is also kind of a software. It is also kind of a program. Even that has to be loaded onto the RAM. So who will do that? That ROM does. And ROM will do that with the help of a bootstrap program, which will pick a copy from the hard disk. It has a copy of the OS from the hard disk, and it will load that copy onto the RAM. And then once the OS gets loaded onto the RAM, the OS takes control of your system. And then you will see the Windows logo and the desktop, that everything comes in front of you, right? So that is how the things function. So ROM is a non-volatile memory. Why? Even if there is no power supply, the program is present onto your ROM, understand it. So anything that, any memory that retains the data, any memory that retains the data will be called as non-volatile memory. Okay, I hope these things are now very clear to you. Why do we require ROM? ROM is used for booting the system, booting your computer, to start your computer. It will load the OS onto the RAM, and then the OS take control of your entire machine. Okay, without the ROM, your system will not start, children, understand it. Okay, so let's move forward. Now what is a hard disk? Even hard disk is a memory. Can you guess what kind of memory hard disk will be, and why do we require a hard disk? A hard disk is used to store data permanently. It stores user data. So basically you're storing a lot of music file, video files, and your, you know, lot of data that you have, you store. Where do you store that? You normally store that onto the D drive, E drive, right? You don't normally store that into a C drive. Or your hardware engineers always says that, okay, whatever you store, you better store that onto the D drive, E drive, but don't store anything of your user data onto the C drive. Why does he say that? Your hardware engineer always will promote you, always will tell you to store the data on the rest of the drives, but not the C drive. Why, children? This is because in case your system gets crashed, then only the C drive will get formatted. So even if your data is present on D drive or some other drives, that will not get affected. So your data will always be safe. So hard disk, it is basically used to store your user data, whatever your music files or whatever work you have done on your software, everything gets stored. In fact, all the softwares, all the copy of the software, all the copy, in fact the copy of the OS also is stored on your hard disk. Normally if you see the C drive normally will have all the Windows file, isn't it? So the OS itself is present onto the C drive, and the rest of the drives you store your data. So now the question is, if there is no power supply, I have stored some of my music file, video files, and there is around 20 GB of data that I have stored, or 50 GB of data I have stored of musics and videos. So, and there is no power supply. Do you think your data will be retained? It is present or it is not present? Definitely it is present, right? Now next time when you switch on your computer, you can access your data, which means if there is no power supply in your system, still your data is present. So can you guess what kind of memory is hard disk? Hard disk is a non-volatile memory. Why? Because it can easily retain your data. So RAM, ROM, hard disk, all these are memories, but they act differently. RAM, it cannot retain the memory. Okay, only it retains the memory till the point there is power supply. ROM, it has a program that is permanently stored and it is only used to read the program. You don't write anything onto the ROM. And hard disk is something that is used for the user data, the system programs, everything gets stored onto your hard disk. So that is a non-volatile memory. ROM is also non-volatile. RAM is a volatile memory, right? So it retains the data even if there is no power supply. Okay, one more question. What about pen drive? What kind of memory is pen drive? Is it a volatile or it's a non-volatile? Definitely it's a non-volatile. Why? Because you plug in the pen drive into the USB port, you copy the data and then you remove the pen drive and you keep it in the pocket. So your data is still there in your pen drive, right? So which kind of memory is that? It's a non-volatile memory. Okay, so that is what hard disk is all about. Now one more question that arises or it may arise into your mind, since hard disk, normally we have a huge storage of hard disk. Normally in today's time 500 GB is like a very normal thing. So we have normally 1 TB of hard disk, 2 TB of hard disk in the market that we have available, right? So that's a huge storage of data. And RAM, we always take around 8 GB and 1 TB. There's a big huge difference. So why is it not possible that the computer can use the hard disk space for executing its program? Why do we separately require a RAM for execution of program? The answer is very simple. It's because your hard disk, it's a very complex hardware and it is a very slow device, you can say. So anything you want to pick up from a hard disk, it takes quite a bit of time as compared to the RAM. The only factor that works for a RAM is because it's a very fast memory. Okay, so the data getting stored or the execution also takes pretty fast. So RAM is a fast memory. Hard disk as compared to RAM is pretty slow. So we cannot actually use a hard disk. In fact, there are certain situations where hard disk is also used by our OS for program execution, and that goes into that is the part of paging. Okay, how a computer, what is paging and what exactly it is, that is out of syllabus at this point. So we will talk about paging in some other lecture, or if you have some other time, we will talk about paging and how it works. But understand, hard disks can never be used for program execution. For that we require a separate memory, a memory that is very fast, and for that we have RAM. Okay, so that is about the hard disk. Now comes what is a processor and a CPU. And normally you see this diagram everywhere. So this is a CPU. CPU has two parts. Always we have learned that in the lower classes that there is one control unit and there is one ALU, that is arithmetic logic unit. So these are the two parts of your CPU. Okay, so CPU, that is central processing unit, is nothing but your processor. What is this processor? You always say, okay, I have a i3 processor, right? i5, i7, isn't it? These are the processors. This, everything else is just optional, you can say. In fact, not optional, it is required. But without this, nothing can function, because this is your main computer chip. This is your main CPU. This is your main processor. So CPU, central processing unit, in short, processor. This is your processor. This is your CPU. This is the chip which is required for all the other parts. I mean, this is your main computer. Understand it. Okay. So your CPU has two parts. Your processor has two parts, that is CU, which what does the CPU control unit does? CU, that is a control unit. What exactly it does? It takes instruction by instruction from the RAM. Can you see the memory unit over here? Memory unit means RAM. All the program gets loaded onto the RAM, and from RAM the control unit fetches the instruction and it will decode it. Decode means it will execute it. Okay, and then your program, you can see the things happening in your program. If you're running a video game and if you're you're pressing the page up arrow key, and then maybe you're playing a racing car and you can see the car moving forward. So everything happens with the help of your CPU, and under the CPU we have the control unit. So it fetches the instructions from the RAM and then it will decode it. And if there is any arithmetical or logical, any calculation part to be done, control unit will give instruction to the ALU, and ALU will do the part of logical part or arithmetical part. It will perform it again. It will again go back to the memory. Then from there it will goes back to the memory, and from the memory it comes to the computer screen or it goes to the printer, depends. So input devices, that is your keyboard, your mouse, whatever you do, that is the instruction to the CPU with the help of your RAM. So all the program gets loaded onto the RAM, instruction by instruction, it will get decoded by the CPU, and then we will get the output. Okay, so that is what a processor is all about. When we talk about processor, in short, that is a short word, processor, but normally that's a central processing unit. So that is in short your